1960 Parade magazine maintains that hats are the world's greatest anything. He has greatest props. He has long maintained that a funny hat on a familiar face will arouse the greatest audience laughter. You like hats, Gerri? You like?
I love hats, especially when there's no hair underneath. It just gives the person a ego boost.
I would like.
Did you like him in his pink hat in the last
I thought it was very masculine.
Think it goes with my purse?
Personality.
I would like to ask Gerri Leigh to introduce to Sally Kirkland. Gerri is the master psychic and master parapsychologist. Gives great courses. We'll talk about the phone number and the learning annex. But first, I would like you to introduce to Sally Kirkland, the master sound therapist and gongologist. I mentioned before you got here today that sound therapy is very much in the news. It's going to make us feel refreshed, Sally, and invigorated and young and peaceful and peppy. Take it away, Gerri.
Well, how about if I introduce him to Sally and the rest of the audience while we're at it?
Right.
This is Master Gongist, Mr. Don Conreaux. And not only that, he's a great former actor and incredible masseur. He intersperses all of his wonderful talents in one great art. And
what do you want to ask or say, Miss Kirkland?
I have a little spasm in my upper left shoulder.
we'll conk it away.
You'll conk it away? Really?
Why don't we conk it away?
Sure, we could blow
Don
it off.
Conreaux, what is a gongologist? What is sound therapy? And basically, what are we going to get from that seminar that you, and the workshop that you and Gerri are giving together?
At the learning annex.
How are we going to feel when we leave that class?
Well, this gong here has a tremendous amount of power. And it has the power to relax you, to remove stress, and put you in a meditative state. Almost like going to sleep and waking up refreshed.
Well, like the
But
Bible
more.
said, the sound and the light, right?
That's
First
right.
came the
But
sound
more,
and the light.
because you're not only using your subjective consciousness. We were talking about stress and housewives and homemakers and doctors and lawyers and butchers.
And movie stars.
All have stress.
And movie stars.
But this particular seminar will relieve stress without chemical assistance.
Dr. Gerri Leigh. Is she an exciting lady, Sally?
A lot of energy.
So far.
A lot of energy. I met her with Dick Gregory on your show about 10 years ago.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm curious, when a person comes to Learning Annex to take the seminar, they come in like loose clothes and they're
Just
ready
loose clothing,
to
and
lie
we'll
down.
have a nice, comfortable place they can lie down. And if
Get
they
into
have
breathing? Do you
a
work
little
with breathing also?
working with color, and also after 45 minutes of lying down and listening to this, you're a new person.
May we have a sample? Are we allowed to have a sample? Even though we're
yes.
not lying down, we can lie down
We're
mentally.
We're going to imagine we're lying down.
Right. We'll feel uplifted.
I would think it would be good to close your eyes, wouldn't it?
Yes. and
You close your eyes
So I
and
will
just relax
accompany you
for a
with the
moment.
conch.
But don't put my audience to sleep out there.
No,
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 no.
no.
accompany you with the conch.
And
need the
afterwards,
rating. We need the rating.
Does
you
this
can say
work
how
with the
it feels.
spiritual centers, the 7 spiritual centers in the body?
Sounds like a J. Arthur Rank production, right, Sally?
That's where it's all started.
Really, huh?
This
Yes.
is just a medium meditation meeting.
Right.
That's great. I think you should make audio tapes.
I do have some.
Yes. So people can put this on and just go out of the physical material world and into the inner world.
Some
What
of the
happens
actors
if
have taken gongs and have
Yeah.
used them in their home. James Coburn.
Oh, James Coburn loves gongs. I know. I did a
Brando,
movie
yes.
with him.
How about Chuck Barris on the Gong Show?
And
Maybe
Chuck,
Really?
of course,
Yeah.
Chuck.
maybe a
And
billionaire.
you know, Joe, when I was a young thing, doing the La Mama troupe, Futz, Tom Paine, all those shows in the 60s, my
Futz.
director was Tom O'Horgan, who directed Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar, and he's a total freak for gongs. You go to his house, and he's got 100 gongs from all over the world, and you just sit there, and then he lets you do it yourself, and you go all around the room, and there's all different sounds of gongs from all over the world, every country. It's
I
amazing.
might want to mention that I don't know if the camera showed this, but as Don was gonging, I was conking, and the duality of those two sounds are what causes a release in the individual who is receiving this kind of wonderful healing energy. And we need a release. We all need a release every day, and we don't need to hurt ourselves with drugs, and this is the best way to do it.
Dr. Leigh, I want you to tell the world how to be in touch with you, how to join that course, because Sally and I, we want to be in the, if we can be in that
Oh,
I'll
we'd
do
love
it if
to
you lie
conk
down on the
you.
floor next to me.
promise?
You always conk out, Joe.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Excuse me.
And these are the oldest instruments in the world, by
Really?
the way. It's the first
Besides
Walkman
us.
stereo.
It's funny.
So that's
You
like
hear stereo
BC?
ocean with it. Yeah, you
BC?
hear BC.
And when was the first gong made?
3500 BC,
Wow.
beginning of the science of metallurgy.
And when you-
Which peoples? Which
All over
country?
the world.
And when you put those on your ears just then, you heard Al Jolson singing 3,500 years ago, right?
Rum Tum Tittle.
Right. Gerri.
If you want to call me for a private session, a psychic reading, or come to the Learning Annex seminar, call me at 316, that's area code 212, 316-1619, 316-1619 in New York.
And when is that big seminar?
That's September 27th.
And it's
that's
called-
very soon.
Called what now, the name of the session?
Journey Beyond the Fourth Dimension.
For children and adults?
Anyone, drug-free, and it's a real high.
Don
And it's
Conreaux,
pretty
you are,
inexpensive.
you are the, what'd you say, it's not expensive?
Pretty inexpensive,
How much?
very cheap. $24 for
I
the
can't
whole night.
afford
3 hours? That's
Don,
pretty
Don,
cheap.
you are the man of the moment. This sound therapy now is very timely. I'm reading a lot about it, right?
Yes, science is now finding that sound answers the question for a lot of the mysteries of quantum physics, all through healing. It's a wonderful
Well, you
thing.
know, the New Age music scene with composers who are now specifically writing music to open the chakras and the centers. No more rock and roll, no more all that. It's only music and sound that will open up the spiritual centers, the crown chakra, the third eye.
These are
heart.
exciting people. They help a lot of people. And I want to say it again, Gerri Leigh is one of my favorites. She's my resident deputy psychic. And would you give Sally a private reading someday?
Absolutely, it would
Okay.
be a thrill.
10 minutes from now, I'll meet you outside.
Don, into the intermission with one gong, just one little. And we shall return with some very, very charming people.
Chow time.
Oh. It does make you want to chat.
Change dreams to reality. Transform your home, office, or building with Amiantiti. It's a unique wall finish from Garden State Brick Base and Stucco. Acrylic based so it won't crack, peel, or fade. Mixed with imported quartz and marble for a rock-hard finish.
Come close. 1-900-909-7575. It's Phone Friends, a great way to meet people right now, any time of the day or night. Meet someone new every time you call. 1-900-909-7575. Phone Friends.
$2 for the first minute, 45 cents each additional minute.
Youngsters between 12 and 17 comprise 20% of all drug users in New York City. Clearly, we must educate our youngest children about the dangers of drugs. Waiting until a child is in high school is too late, and depending solely on parents is not realistic. Bank Street College has developed a curriculum that enables young children to learn self-esteem. Let's give our youngest children the skills they need to make healthy choices. Their future depends on it.
I was telling my anchor lady, my co-host Sally Kirkland, that seeing is believing. Now we heard the gong. Now we know that hearing is believing, right?
Yeah, and we have sitting with us someone who makes us laugh when she's on.
And we need laughter. The lady's name is Margaret Olst. Margaret invited me one night to a club called,
Troubles.
and they have only comedians, no men.
I think that's great for this time and age, that she thinks enough of her sisters to only, because, you know, out of every 10 male jobs, there's one woman's job. So this is probably the only club that is only female comics, and that says something for the coming
Is comedy changing for women? Where is comedy for women going, Margaret Olst?
Well, women are accepted today, and men will come hear a woman. Every man says, I don't understand women, and my room is a place where they get a chance to hear it,
to be educated.
to hear how it works. I
This
mean,
lady's not only the MC, but she also does comedy. She's a stand-up
she's
comedian,
funny.
and she gets a lot of marvelous press. Margaret Olst, OST, right? Give the address, Margaret.
46 East 29th Street.
What nights?
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
How did you break? A little bit on you. How'd you get into comedy and stuff like that, Margaret?
Well, I decided I got tired of writing, kinds of writing, because you don't get to hear the laughter. If you're funny, you don't get to hear it. And I said, I really know something about men and women. So I tell it like it is.
Oh, tell us.
Well, we all know that there are a lot of runners, right? Well, I go up to the reservoir in Central Park, and I run, but I'm not fast enough to catch men as they go by, so I have to trip them instead.
That's funny. What do you feel that you or your comedy, Margaret, represents in comedy? You know what I'm saying. What's the approach?
Well, I represent sort of every woman who thinks about how do you get a guy. That's right. I mean, they want you in the Learning Annex. They used to teach a course that how to find a lover in Bloomingdale's, which would be fine if men go shopping, but they don't.
Unless they're dragged.
Right. So I tell women, you go to the lingerie department on Valentine's Day and give your card to the men shopping for their wives and girlfriends. And when their marriages or relationships break up, you'll be in.
You know any good comedians you might submit to, Margaret Olst, Sally?
I do. I teach a comedy improv workshop, and they're all in L.A. I'm going to send them to you in New York. There's particularly a young girl, Lisa Glass, who almost was on the Joan Rivers show. And she's getting there. William Morris is interested. I'd like to send her to you.
Well, we'd love to see new people because there's a big difference between the L.A. and the New York comedians. We think
What's the difference between the New York and the L.A. comedians?
Well, we think life is a lot tougher here in New York, where we don't have the beach.
You ever get that deep fear they're going to run out of material someday, or do you figure you can go forever?
Not,
as long as men exist, you can go on forever, right?
not when there's so many problems in the world that we get to talk about.
Is that why the club is called Troubles?
Well, I inherited the name. But we're turning it around.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. Give that address one more time.
46 East 29th Street.
And you can
in
pop in
Manhattan.
there, Sally, and see a lot of funny people.
I do think it's funny when women talk about men when they get down and really tell it like it is. I've been noticing more and more of that in the comedy scene and the stand-up comedy
Now I want to
scene.
tell you about a lady who did more one-liners than 85 Henny Youngmans. That lady's name was Dorothy Parker. Right. And a lady named Louise Lieberman Poster does a one-woman show called The Life and... What do you call the show?
Well, as a matter of fact, I called it Girls Who Wear Glasses. And you may be wondering why I'm not wearing glasses.
Right.
That's because, I am the modern Dorothy Parker, and my lines go like this. Men, as a rule, are easy to fool. So all my Mercedes-Benzes match my contact lenses.
But I've got a feeling that Dorothy Parker was a feminist even before that word was invented,
so.
right or wrong?
Yes, she really
Way
was.
back.
And she would have loved your particular show very, very much. She believed very strongly the comedy shows that Margaret does.
Right, yeah. And tell us about Big Blonde. I've always wanted to play Big Blonde by Dorothy Parker. Have you worked on that?
Yes, well, my favorite line from that is Big Blonde, her name was Hazel Morse, and she felt that there was something very strange and comical about living outside of New York, which most of us can kind of relate to.
Louise, out of 4 million people out there, I just read somewhere that we got 4 million people watching this program at night. I'll show it to you in a few minutes. But maybe 3.5 million never heard of Dorothy Parker, so you got to tell them exactly who Dorothy Parker was.
Okay, well, Dorothy Parker was a jazz-age writer of short stories and poems, and she's known as being very sensitive and very spiritual, but I would like you to know that she was also very materialistic at times, and she expressed that in one particular poem, which I'd like to say for you.
Please, but she was also very cutting and very vicious.
Yes, she could be very vicious.
Her barbs.
Yes.
She was one of the most quoted ladies of modern times. And you would say that much of what she wrote many decades ago, Louise, is still timely or still relevant today?
Yes, definitely.
Right.
When you read her today, you think you're reading one of today's feminists.
You want to give us a
actually.
brief, a mini of a poem, a sample of a poem?
Yes,
All right.
yes. As I said, she felt that we should not live our lives to suit a man.
Right.
And she wrote, in youth it was a way I had to do my best to please, to change with every passing lad to suit his theories. But now I know the things I know and do the things I do. And if you do not like me so, to hell my love with you.
Oh, that's great.
An Evening with Dorothy Parker, rave review in the New York Times.
Really?
You got to tell us. Oh, this lady is a school teacher in the daytime with the Board of Education, right?
Yes.
Where do you perform?
I'll be at the Algonquin at the original Oak Room on October 22nd, Sunday, at 4 o'clock for tea and cake.
That's where Dorothy Parker, Sally, gave those famous round
Salons.
tables, right? With
Yes.
Robert Benchley, who?
Yes.
Harpo Marx.
And,
Morse Hart and Kaufman,
but who's the other gentleman?
Wolcott, Alexander Wolcott.
Benchley, Wilcox, there's somebody else.
F. Scott Fitzgerald.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, and there's still somebody else.
James Thurman.
But you know the
James Thurman.
But you know the amazing thing? Harpo Marx, who never spoke in the movies, was the most literate wit at that whole round table.
Yes, and he was also the best poker player.
That's right.
And they all sat in the lobby of the Algonquin, didn't they? I mean,
Well, they first sat in the Oak Room,
In the
and
Oak
then,
Room, right.
then they moved to the Rose Room.
Rose Room.
And I'm going to be at the Oak Room.
Well, wherever she is up there, I bet she's happy that someone's carrying her spirit.
I think so.
Yeah, that's great.
Fantastic. Well, how would you define that term, Margaret, comedy? I mean, is there a formula? I mean, could you say like blank plus blank equals comedy? I want to do stand-up comedy someday. I want to be
Truth
like
plus wit.
truth plus wit.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
You like that?
You do stand-up comedy.
Yeah, but I fall down when I do it. Who's your favorite comedian? I mean, of the say Joan Davis. Give her a break. I love Joan Davis.
Well, I admire her for several reasons,
Right.
because she was the first female comedian who took herself and didn't make characters.
Right.
She also graduated from a college similar to mine, so I like to think that you can be educated and still make it in comedy. But I also was affected by Leslie Gore's phrase in her song, and I play her music in my room. Don't tell me what to do, don't tell me what to say. Please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. That's 25 years old, and that's Leslie
from It's
Gore.
My Party? No, that's another song. No.
It's my party. No.
That's a great song.
Don't tell me what to do.
I love that. Sally, you're what they would call a comic actress, right? It's
Well, I do comedy. I just did Cold Feet. That was a comedy, right? Oh, I have one coming on PBS, October 29th and 31st. I hope you watch it. It's a comedy by Albert Inarado, the playwright, called Death and Taxes. Very funny. I play 6-foot-tall tax lawyer from Wall Street, and men are absolutely terrified of me. Can't imagine why.
Well, you're 6 foot
Little
tall in real
Dorothy
life.
Parker.
You're
What?
You're 6 foot tall in real
Well,
life.
next to you. Stand up.
When I stand on my wallet, then I'm straight.
A little touch of 6 foot. Wait, I don't want to cover Joe up.
Why not, ladies and gentlemen? The spotlight shines on Tommy Ritacco. Tommy is the Russ Columbo expert, but he's got a new dimension going now. You got to tell our friends, Tommy, how the Eddie Cantor happening came into being. Tell it to Margaret and Louise and Sally Kirkland.
I was listening to Joe's radio show one Saturday and Sunday morning, and Joe happened to play a record by Eddie Cantor called Anna in Indiana.
Recorded when?
About 1923.
Really?
21. Anna in Indiana. And what
Right.
happened?
And I decided to make this recording of the song, which is, I have some very fine musicians, and it's sort of jazz Dixieland style.
You want to hear a sample, ladies?
Yes.
Sure.
And what I would like to do someday when we have a lot of time is play Tommy's rendition with the Eddie Cantor rendition back to back, like a double exposure. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Anyhow, this is, I wish we had hours for these. Sally, you're going to be my anchor lady tomorrow night, too? You
Yes,
promise?
yes.
Margaret Olst, give that address now. Troubles,
46 East 29th Street, New York, New York.
Tuesdays.
And Thursdays, 8 to 10.
And you tell a couple dirty jokes, but that's good. That's nice. Who knows what's dirty today, right? And Miss Poster at the...
At the Algonquin 59 West 44th Street on Sunday, October 22nd.
Okay, now, talking about Eddie Cantor, how'd you like to know that Margaret brought me a present? I'm going to show it on the screen while we play a little bit of... you know what this is worth?
A lot.
A lot of money. Here it is.
When is it published?
Over 60 years ago.
Really?
I'm going to play it on screen. We'll show a sample as we listen to a little bit of Tommy Rocco doing Anna in Indiana, made famous by Eddie Cantor. A touch.
To see my Anna in Indiana, she's just as playful as a baby grand piano. Not very nifty, weighs just 250, but a great big fat girl now and then is relished by the best of men. Anna in Indiana will have my arms as far around her as they'll go. I'm all through with Broadway sallies, now I long for hills and valleys. I'm going back to Indiana.
Enjoy a fantasy getaway. Escape to the perfect spot for the two of you. The Comac Motor Inn and the Grantmore Motor Lodge are special places for special people. So put a little romance into your life. On Long Island, it's the Comac Motor Inn. In Connecticut, it's the Grantmore Motor Lodge. And our new location in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the Oakland East Motor Lodge, off Oakland Park Boulevard and Route 1. Enjoy your own fantasy getaway.
Martin Paint works round the clock, loading up with super values to pass the savings on to you. Incredible savings on Martin's own manufactured quality paint. Slashed prices on a full line of wall covering, floor covering, decorative lumber, and lighting. All backed by Martin's unconditional money-back guarantee. We challenge comparison on our complete line of quality home products and pass the savings on to you.
Martin's Home Decorating Center, it ain't just paint.
I think one of the most important things we can do is to make our clients feel as comfortable as possible, because it's a little trying applying for a second mortgage loan with anybody. And we try to simplify the process as much as possible. I think the fact that so many of our former customers are recommending their friends and relatives is proof that they were happy with our service, they felt comfortable with us, they got a good rate, and that's why we say, when your bank says no, Champion says yes.
New Jersey's strong economy has created more jobs than ever before. With REACH, New Jersey's welfare reform program, employers have a new resource for well-trained workers, and they can earn tax credit at the same time. REACH provides education, training, daycare, and health benefits for these workers at no cost to employers. Hundreds of New Jersey employers benefit from the REACH program. You can too.
REACH, 609-292-2400.
Margaret Olst, you are the most.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Following your career at Troubles. How do you spell Troubles?
T-R-U-B-B-L-E-S.
It's a nice spelling, and we shall be honoring Dorothy Parker. She invented a few four-letter words herself, didn't she, more or less?
Certainly did.
Tommy, thanks for keeping the name Eddie Cantor alive. And Sally Kirkland, why don't you sort of wrap it up and summarize and give us some nice final vibration.
It's so much fun to be with two women who are out doing their own thing, so to speak. And I'm an Eddie Cantor freak, so anyone who
It's an honor for me to be with this panel, too.
Did you meet Eddie Cantor in person ever, Sally, when you were
No, I
baby?
saw him on stage, though. I'll never forget those eyes as long as I live.
With Judy Garland.
Well, I thought it was with Judy Garland, but maybe I'm remembering it wrong. But I used to go to all of her live shows when I was a little kid, and I remember seeing Eddie live, and I remember being mesmerized by his eyes. What can I say?
He was the man who made Whoopi, right? He was
Yeah.
banjo eyes, as they say in show business. Have a good one. See you next time around.